First Contact and Revelation. The night sky over the Atacama Desert blazed with countless stars, their ancient light a stark contrast to the array of modern radio telescopes dotting the landscape. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood motionless, her eyes fixed on the monitor before her. The readout hadn't changed for the past hour, yet she couldn't look away. "It's still there," she whispered, more to herself than to her colleague, Dr. James Chen, who sat nearby, furiously typing on his laptop. "Elena, we need to alert the director," James said, his voice tight with a mixture of excitement and apprehension. This is unprecedented. The signal they had detected was unlike anything humanity had ever encountered. It wasn't the random noise of a pulsar or the faint echoes of the cosmic microwave background. This signal was structured, complex, and undeniably artificial. Within hours, observatories around the world confirmed the finding. Within days, governments worldwide were scrambling to respond. The signal, originating from a star system nearly 50 light-years away, was the proof humanity had long sought. We were not alone in the universe. As the world's brightest minds worked tirelessly to decipher the message, an uneasy tension gripped the planet. Would this be a moment of joyous first contact, or the prelude to something more sinister? The answer came 3 weeks later, in a heavily guarded conference room deep beneath the Pentagon. Elena and James sat at a long table, surrounded by military brass, political leaders, and fellow scientists from around the globe. "Ladies and gentlemen," began Admiral Sarah Hawthorne, her weathered face grave as she addressed the room, "what I'm about to share with you is classified at the highest level. Thanks to the tireless efforts of our decryption teams, we now understand the content of the alien transmission." A hush fell over the room as the Admiral continued. "The message is a warning. It speaks of a vast, aggressive empire that has dominated much of our galactic neighborhood for millennia. This empire views emerging civilizations as a threat and systematically eliminates them before they can become potential rivals." Gasps and murmurs filled the room. Elena felt a chill run down her spine as the implications sank in. "The message," Admiral Hawthorne pressed on, "was sent by a coalition of species who have been resisting this empire. They'd been searching for allies, for any civilizations advanced enough to join their cause, but not yet detected by the empire. We are one such civilization." President Kira Martinez, the first to break the stunned silence that followed, leaned forward. "What are our options, Admiral?" "We have 2 choices," Hawthorne replied. "We can hope to remain undetected and risk eventual discovery and annihilation, or we can prepare to fight." Elena exchanged a glance with James, seeing her own mix of fear and determination mirrored in his eyes. Humanity had always wondered if it was alone in the universe. Now they knew the truth, and it was far more terrifying than they could have imagined. "We fight," President Martinez declared, her voice unwavering. "Humanity will not cower in the shadows, waiting for extinction. We will stand with this coalition, and we will defend our right to exist." The room erupted in a chorus of agreement. As the initial shock wore off, a sense of purpose began to take hold. Humanity had always thrived in the face of adversity, and this would be no different. In the months that followed, the world changed rapidly. Old rivalries were set aside as nations pooled their resources and knowledge. The signal had contained more than just a warning. It held fragments of advanced scientific knowledge that accelerated human technology by decades, if not centuries. Secret facilities sprang up around the globe, dedicated to developing new propulsion systems, energy weapons, and defensive technologies. The world's brightest minds worked around the clock, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. Elena found herself at the forefront of this new space race, leading a team tasked with reverse engineering the alien communication technology. The work was grueling, but exhilarating. Every breakthrough brought humanity one step closer to the stars, and to a fighting chance against the looming threat. As the first anniversary of the signal's detection approached, Elena stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed lunar base, gazing at the blue marble of Earth hanging in the void. Behind her, A fleet of sleek, experimental spacecraft stood ready for their maiden voyage. James joined her at the window, his expression a mix of awe and trepidation. "Do you think we're ready?" he asked softly. Elena turned to look at the ships, marveling at how far they'd come in such a short time. "Ready or not," she replied, a determined smile playing on her lips. "Humanity is about to make its grand entrance on the galactic stage." As if on cue, alarms began to sound throughout the base. A voice crackled over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. Unidentified objects approaching lunar orbit. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill." Elena and James shared a look of grim resolve. The moment they had prepared for had arrived sooner than expected. As they raced to their posts, one thought echoed in Elena's mind. Humanity may have been thrust into this conflict, but they would face it head-on. The galaxy was about to learn that humans don't go down without a fight. The galactic stage, the bridge of the UES horizon, Earth's first true interstellar vessel, hummed with nervous energy. Captain Zora Vega stood at the helm, her dark eyes fixed on the swirling vortex of the wormhole before them. The experimental drive, based on principles gleaned from the alien transmission, had performed flawlessly during tests within the solar system. Now, they were about to attempt their first jump beyond the stars. "All systems go, Captain," reported Commander Aiden Chen, his fingers dancing over the holographic controls. "Wormhole stability at 99.8%. Zara took a deep breath, acutely aware of the historical weight of this moment. "Initiate jump sequence," she ordered, her voice steady despite the adrenaline coursing through her veins. The horizon surged forward, enveloped by crackling energy. For a breathless moment, reality itself seemed to twist and warp around them. Then, with a flash of blinding light, they emerged into unknown space. "Jump successful," Aiden exclaimed, his face breaking into a wide grin. "We've arrived at the target coordinates." As the crew erupted in cheers, Zora allowed herself a small smile. Phase 1 of their mission was complete. Now came the truly unpredictable part. First contact. It didn't take long. Within hours of their arrival, the horizon's sensors detected an approaching vessel. Its design was unlike anything in Earth's database, confirming its extraterrestrial origin. "They're hailing us, Captain," the communications officer announced, her voice tinged with excitement and apprehension. Zara straightened her uniform. "On screen," she commanded. The view screen flickered to life, revealing a being that was unmistakably alien. Its body was vaguely humanoid, but covered in iridescent scales. Multiple eyes blinked at them from a face that seemed to shift and change as they watched. "Greetings, travelers," the alien spoke, its words translated by the ship's advanced AI. "I am Ambassador Zixlith of the Galactic Coalition. We've been eagerly awaiting your arrival." Zara stepped forward, chin held high. "I am Captain Zora Vega of the United Earth Ship Horizon. On behalf of humanity, we come in peace and friendship." The conversation that followed was a whirlwind of information. The Galactic Coalition, Zixlith explained, was an alliance of species united against the oppressive Caraxian Empire. They had been monitoring Earth's progress since sending the warning message, impressed by humanity's rapid technological advancement. "Your species has achieved in months what takes most civilizations centuries," Zixlith marveled. "We had hoped you might be ready to join our cause, but we never anticipated such remarkable progress." As the Horizon docked with the Coalition's massive space station, Zora couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had worked tirelessly to prepare for this moment, driven by the knowledge that their very existence was at stake. The following days were a blur of diplomatic meetings, technological exchanges, and strategic planning. The Coalition leaders were initially skeptical of Earth's military capabilities, given how new they were to interstellar travel. That skepticism turned to shock when Zara revealed the extent of humanity's preparations. "You've developed quantum-entangled communication networks," gasped Krelvor, the Coalition's chief scientist, his tentacles writhing in excitement. And your energy weapons, the yield is off the charts. Zara exchanged a knowing glance with her science officer, Dr. Yuki Tanaka. They had decided to keep some of their most advanced technologies secret, at least for now. Earth's hidden fleet, with its revolutionary stealth systems and reality-warping weapons, would remain their ace in the hole. As the days wore on, Zara began to grasp the true scale of the conflict they had entered. The Caraxian Empire controlled vast swaths of the galaxy, systematically expanding and crushing any opposition. The Coalition, while determined, was constantly on the defensive, barely holding onto their territories. "We've been fighting a losing battle for generations," admitted General Drokar, his crystalline body dimming with sorrow. "Each year, we lose more ground, more allies. Your arrival, it gives us hope." Zara felt the weight of expectation settling on her shoulders. Humanity was seen as a potential game-changer, a wild card that could tip the scales in this cosmic conflict. But were they truly ready for the challenges ahead? Her doubts were cut short by a blaring alarm. The station shook violently, throwing everyone off balance. "We're under attack," shouted a Coalition officer. "Caraxian battleships have breached the system's defenses." Chaos erupted as Coalition forces scrambled to defend the station. Zara sprinted back to the horizon, barking orders into her comm unit. "All hands to battle stations. Prepare for immediate departure." As the horizon disengaged from the dock, Zara saw the true might of the Caraxian Empire for the first time. Massive warships, dark and ominous, filled the viewport. Energy weapons lanced out, tearing through the Coalition's defenses with terrifying ease. "Orders, Captain?" Aiden asked, his hands hovering over the weapons controls. Zara hesitated for a split second. This wasn't their fight, not yet. They could jump away, return to Earth with the intelligence they'd gathered. But as she watched Coalition ships valiantly facing the overwhelming force, she knew there was only one choice. "Target the lead Caraxian vessel," she commanded, her voice ringing with determination. "It's time to show the galaxy what humanity can do." The horizon surged forward, its advanced weapon systems coming online. As they engaged the enemy, Zara silently hoped that Earth's preparations would be enough. For better or worse, humanity had taken its first steps onto the galactic stage, and the performance was about to begin. The Hidden Fleet. As the UES Horizon engaged the Caraxian forces, Captain Zara Vega's mind flashed back to the events that had led to this moment. The memory of Earth's covert military buildup played out like a vivid dream amidst the chaos of battle. 18 months earlier, in a hidden facility deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, General Marcus Steele stood before a group of the world's most brilliant minds, his weathered face illuminated by the glow of holographic displays. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, his voice grave, "what you're about to see is beyond top secret. The fate of our species depends on the success of this project." With a gesture, he brought up schematics of sleek, predatory-looking spacecraft. "Project Shadowfall," he announced, "our answer to the Caraxian threat." Dr. Elena Rodriguez, freshly transferred from signal analysis to weapons development, leaned forward, her eyes widening as she took in the revolutionary designs. "These ships, they're like nothing we've ever built before." "That's because we're not just using our own tech," James Chen chimed in, excitement evident in his voice. "We've incorporated principles from the alien data, pushing them far beyond what even the Coalition has achieved." The following months were a whirlwind of innovation and determination. Nations pooled resources, setting aside old rivalries in the face of existential threat. Hidden shipyards were constructed in asteroid belts and on the far side of the moon, shielded from prying eyes, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial. Elena found herself at the forefront of weapons development, working alongside James to create systems that defied conventional physics. Quantum-entangled communication arrays that couldn't be intercepted or jammed. Reality warping drives that could outmaneuver anything in known space. And weapons. Terrible, awesome weapons that could unmake matter at a fundamental level. "Are we going too far?" Elena asked James one night, as they stood on an observation deck overlooking the lunar shipyards. Below them, massive vessels took shape, their dark hulls seeming to drink in the starlight. James placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We're doing what we must to survive," he said softly, "and hopefully, to bring peace to the galaxy." As the fleet neared completion, key personnel were selected to crew the ships. Captain Zara Vega, a prodigy in tactical operations, was chosen to lead the flagship. Commander Aiden Chen, with his unparalleled skills in astrogation, became her second in command. The day the fleet was unveiled to Earth's united government was one for the history books. Presidents, prime ministers, and monarchs stood in awe as they were shown humanity's secret weapon. A fleet of over 100 ships, each a masterpiece of human ingenuity and alien-inspired technology. With these ships, General Steele declared, "We don't just have a fighting chance. We have the power to change the course of this war." But the true test would come not from Earth's leaders, but from the stars themselves. Back in the present, aboard the UES Horizon, Zara snapped back to reality as a Correction energy blast rocked the ship. "Evasive maneuvers," she barked. "Aiden, prepare to deploy the phase shifters." The Horizon danced through space, its advanced systems allowing it to move in ways that seemed to defy physics. Coraxian weapons fire passed harmlessly through empty space where the ship had been milliseconds before. "Captain," the communications officer called out, "we're receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. General Steele is on the line." Zara's heart raced. She knew what this call meant. "Put him through," she ordered. General Steele's holographic image appeared on the bridge, his expression a mixture of determination and grim satisfaction. "Captain Vega, it's time. Operation Shadowfall is a go. Bring in the fleet." A thrill of anticipation ran through Zara. This was the moment they had prepared for, the reason behind all the secrecy and hard work. "Understood, General. Initiating recall sequence now." With a series of commands, Zora activated a hidden system within the Horizon. Quantum entanglement particles, linked to their counterparts back in the Sol system, sprang to life. In an instant, a message faster than light itself was sent across the vast distances of space. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The battle raged on, coalition ships fighting valiantly, but clearly outmatched by the Coraxian onslaught. Then, space itself seemed to ripple and tear. Massive portals, shimmering with otherworldly energy, began to open around the battlefield. And from these portals emerged humanity's hidden fleet. Ship after ship, each a dark, sleek predator, armed with weapons beyond the understanding of even their coalition allies. The Coraxian advance faltered as their sensors struggled to make sense of what they were seeing. In that moment of confusion, Zara seized the initiative. "All ships, this is Captain Vega." She broadcast on a frequency that reached every human vessel. "The time for hiding is over. Show them what humanity can do. Engage at will." The human fleet surged forward, their reality-warping drives allowing them to dance through the battlefield with impossible grace. Weapons fire lanced out, not the familiar energy beams of conventional combat, but strange, twisted beams that seemed to unmake whatever they touched. Coraxian ships, previously unstoppable juggernauts, found themselves outmaneuvered and outgunned. Confusion turned to panic as the invaders realized they were now the ones fighting for survival. On the Coalition command station, Ambassador Zixlith and the other alien leaders watched in awe as the tide of battle turned. "By the cosmic winds," Zixlith breathed, "what manner of allies have we found?" As the battle raged, Zora allowed herself a moment of grim satisfaction. Humanity had revealed its hand, and the galaxy would never be the same. The war was far from over, but in this moment, they had done the impossible. They had given hope to a resistance that had known only retreat and loss for generations. "We are humanity," Zara whispered, watching as her fleet turned the Coraxian invasion into a rout. "And we will not go quietly into the night." First engagement. The space around the Coalition station blazed with the fury of battle. Human ships danced through the chaos, their reality warping drives leaving ghostly afterimages as they outmaneuvered the lumbering Coraxian vessels. Captain Zora Vega stood at the helm of the UES Horizon, her eyes darting between tactical displays as she coordinated the fleet's movements. Squadron Delta, execute pincer maneuver on the Coraxian dreadnought, she ordered, her voice calm despite the adrenaline surging through her veins. Squadron Epsilon, provide covering fire. As her orders were relayed, Zara couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. The human fleet moved with a synchronicity that bordered on precognition, their quantum-entangled communication systems allowing for instantaneous coordination across vast distances. Commander Aiden Chen's voice cut through the controlled chaos of the bridge. Captain, the Coraxians are adapting. They're attempting to jam our comms. Zara allowed herself a small smile. Let them try, she replied. Activate the AI defense protocols. Within milliseconds, the fleet's artificial intelligence systems sprang into action. Developed in secret by Earth's top computer scientists, these AIs were unlike anything the galaxy had seen. They adapted to the Coraxian jamming attempts faster than any organic mind could, creating and discarding encryption algorithms at a dizzying pace. On the main view screen, Zara watched as a massive Coraxian battleship brought its main cannon to bear on a group of Coalition frigates. Horizon, intercept course, she commanded. Prepare to deploy the phase shifter. The Horizon surged forward, its sleek form sliding between the Coraxian ship and its intended targets. As the enemy cannon fired, Zara gave the order. Now, in that instant, the Horizon seemed to flicker and fade, becoming translucent. The devastating energy beam passed harmlessly through the ship's ghostly form, dissipating into empty space. As soon as the beam passed, the Horizon snapped back into full solidity, its own weapons already charging. Return fire, Zara ordered, her voice hard. The Horizon's main cannon, a marvel of human ingenuity and alien-inspired technology, came to life. Instead of a beam or projectile, it fired what appeared to be a small, swirling vortex. As it struck the Coraxian battleship, the vortex expanded, warping and tearing at the enemy vessel's hull. Entire sections of the ship seemed to fold in on themselves, crushed by localized distortions in space-time. Across the battlefield, similar scenes played out. Human ships unleashed weapons that defied conventional understanding of physics. Coraxian vessels found their shields useless against attacks that simply phased through them, or weapons that created microscopic black holes within their hull. In the Coalition Command Center, alien leaders watched in awe and not a little fear. General Drokar, his crystalline form shimmering with excitement, turned to Ambassador Zixlith. By the cosmic winds, he exclaimed, what manner of beings have we allied ourselves with? Zixlith's multiple eyes blinked in rapid succession, a sign of deep thought in their species. Ones who faced extinction and chose to evolve instead. They replied softly, I begin to understand why the Coraxians fear emerging civilizations so much. Back on the Horizon's bridge, Zora noticed a shift in the Coraxian tactics. They're retreating, she announced, unable to keep a note of triumph from her voice. A cheer went up from the crew, quickly silenced as Aiden spoke up. Captain, we're detecting a massive energy buildup in the Coraxian flagship. It's like nothing we've ever seen before. Zara's eyes narrowed. On screen, she commanded. The view screen shifted to show the Coraxian flagship, a behemoth easily 10 times the size of the Horizon. Its hull was splitting open, revealing a pulsing core of energy that seemed to bend light around it. Analysis? Zara demanded. Dr. Yuki Tanaka, the ship's chief scientist, responded, her voice tight with concern. It appears to be some kind of hyperdimensional weapon, Captain. If my calculations are correct, it could tear a hole in the fabric of space-time itself. The damage would be catastrophic. For a moment, Zara felt a flutter of fear. This was beyond anything they had prepared for. But as she looked around at her crew, Seeing the determination in their eyes, she steeled herself. Humanity had come too far to falter now. Options? She asked, her mind already racing through possibilities. It was James Chen, monitoring the battle from Earth via quantum link, who spoke up. "Captain, what about the L-wave disruptor?" Zara's eyes widened. The L-wave disruptor was an experimental device, based on theories so advanced that even most of Earth's scientists struggle to understand them. It was designed to interfere with the fundamental forces that held reality together, but it had never been tested in actual combat. "The risks," she began, but James cut her off. "Are less than letting that weapon fire," he finished. "It's our best shot, Zora." Taking a deep breath, Zora made her decision. "Prepare the L-wave disruptor," she ordered. "All other ships fall back to minimum safe distance." As the human fleet retreated, the Horizon stood alone against the massive Coraxian flagship. The enemy weapon continued to charge, reality itself seeming to warp around its muzzle. "L-wave disruptor at full power," Aiden reported, his voice steady despite the tension. Zara gripped her command chair, her eyes fixed on the Coraxian ship. "Fire," she said softly. A beam of pure, shimmering energy lanced out from the horizon, striking the Coraxian weapon just as it prepared to fire. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, reality itself seemed to hiccup. The space around the Coraxian flagship began to twist and fold, like a piece of paper being crumpled by an invisible hand. The massive ship contorted, its hull buckling and warping in impossible ways. Then, with a silent flash that seemed to momentarily dim the stars themselves, it vanished. In its place was nothing. Not empty space, but a complete absence of anything, as if that section of the universe had simply been erased. Silence fell over the Horizon's bridge, broken only by the soft beeping of consoles. It was Aiden who finally spoke, his voice filled with awe. "Captain, we did it." Zara let out a breath she hadn't realized she'd been holding. "Yes," she said softly, "we did." As the remaining Coraxian ships fled in disarray, the full impact of what had just occurred began to sink in. Humanity had not just survived its first major engagement in an interstellar war. It had changed the very nature of cosmic combat. In the depths of space, on planets across the galaxy, and in hidden Coraxian strongholds, the news would spread. A new power had arisen, one with technology that bordered on the impossible. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and the universe would never be the same. Humanity's stand. The news of humanity's stunning victory spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Coalition worlds erupted in celebration, while Coraxian-controlled territories seethed with a mixture of fear and rage. But on Earth, the mood was one of grim determination. They had won a battle, but the war was far from over. In the months that followed, humanity's hidden fleet became the spearhead of the Coalition's renewed offensive. With each engagement, the human ships and their crews gained experience, refining their tactics and pushing their advanced technology to its limits. But the Coraxian Empire was vast, its resources nearly endless. As they recovered from the initial shock of facing an enemy that could match, and even surpass, their technological might, they began to adapt. The easy victories of the early days gave way to hard-fought battles, each one a grueling test of skill and will. It was during one such battle, deep in contested space, that the tide of war shifted once again. Captain Zara Vega stood on the bridge of the UES Horizon, her face illuminated by the glow of tactical displays. Around her, her crew worked with the quiet efficiency born of months of combat experience. "Multiple hyperspace signatures detected," reported Lieutenant Kirei Yoshida, her eyes fixed on the sensor readings. It's a massive fleet, Captain. Largest we've ever seen." Zara's heart sank as the enemy armada materialized. Hundreds, perhaps thousands of Coraxian ships filled the view screen, ranging from nimble fighters to massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed even their largest vessels. "Send word to Coalition Command," Zara ordered, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "We need reinforcements, everything they can spare." But even as she gave the order, she knew it wouldn't be enough. The Coalition's forces were spread thin, and this Coraxian fleet was clearly meant for one purpose: to crush the human upstarts once and for all. As the battle was joined, it quickly became clear that this was unlike any engagement they had faced before. The Coraxians had learned from their previous defeats, developing countermeasures to many of humanity's advanced technologies. Reality warping drives were met with localized spacetime stabilizers. Facing attacks were countered by multi-dimensional shields. For hours, the battle raged across the star system. Human ingenuity and determination clashed against Coraxian numbers and adaptability. Ships on both sides fell to enemy fire, their destruction lighting up space like miniature novas. On the Horizon's bridge, Zara coordinated the defense with every ounce of skill and experience at her command. But even she could see that they were fighting a losing battle. The Coraxian fleet was simply too vast, too relentless. "Captain," Commander Aiden Chen called out, his voice tight with tension, "we're picking up a new hyperspace signature. It's massive." Zara's blood ran cold. What new Coraxian superweapon were they about to face? But as the new arrival materialized, her eyes widened in shock and dawning hope. It was a ship, but like no ship anyone had ever seen. Nearly the size of a small moon, its surface was a shifting fractal pattern that seemed to defy the eye's attempt to focus on it. And emblazoned on its side, visible even at this distance, was the unmistakable insignia of Earth. "This is Admiral Elena Rodriguez of the EFSS Prometheus," a familiar voice crackled over the comms. "Sorry we're late to the party, Captain Vega. We had a few last-minute adjustments to make." Zara couldn't help the grin that spread across her face. "Elena, what in the name of all that's holy is that thing?" "This old friend," Elena replied, and Zara could hear the pride in her voice, "is humanity's answer to the Coraxian threat. A mobile shipyard, fortress, and superweapon all in one. And it's about to remind the Coraxians why they should have left Earth alone." As Zara watched in awe, the Prometheus began to glow with energy. Streams of exotic particles poured from emitters across its surface, coalescing into a web of shimmering force that expanded to encompass the entire human fleet. "All human ships, this is Admiral Rodriguez," Elena's voice rang out. "Disengage your safety protocols and prepare for full neural interface. We're about to show these Coraxians what happens when you back humanity into a corner." Zara felt a moment of trepidation as she ordered her crew to comply. The neural interface was a technology they had been hesitant to use, allowing for direct mind-to-ship connection. It offered unparalleled control and reaction times, but at the risk of losing oneself in the machine. But as the interface engaged, Zara's consciousness expanded. She wasn't just connected to the Horizon anymore. She could feel every human ship in the fleet, their crews linked in a vast, collective consciousness centered on the Prometheus. And then, as one, they moved. The battle that followed would be spoken of in whispered awe for generations to come. Human ships moved with impossible coordination, their actions guided by the collective will of their crews and the vast computational power of the Prometheus. Weapons fire wove complex patterns through space, herding Coraxian ships into killing zones or opening gaps in their formation for devastating strikes. The Prometheus itself seemed to defy the laws of physics, its fractal surface constantly shifting to absorb or redirect enemy fire. From its core erupted weapons that twisted the very fabric of space-time, creating localized singularities that swallowed entire Coraxian squadrons. For the first time since the battle began, the Coraxian advance faltered. Their carefully laid plans and countermeasures crumbled in the face of this new, unprecedented threat. And as their formation broke, the human fleet pressed its advantage. Hours passed, feeling like both an eternity and an instant to the linked human consciousness. Coraxian ships fell by the hundreds, then thousands, unable to cope with the perfect coordination and reality-defying technology of their human opponents. Finally, As the last Caraxian dreadnought flickered and vanished into a localized space-time rift, silence fell over the battlefield. Slowly, carefully, the neural link disengaged. Zara found herself back in her own body, on the bridge of the horizon, tears of exhaustion and elation streaming down her face. Around her, she could see her crew experiencing similar reactions, the weight of what they had just accomplished settling over them. "All ships, report status," she managed to croak out, her voice hoarse. As the reports came in, a picture of their victory emerged. They had suffered losses, yes, but they had faced the full might of the Caraxian Empire and emerged victorious. The tide of the war had been irrevocably turned. In the days and weeks that followed, the full impact of the battle became clear. The Caraxian Empire, for the first time in its long history, sued for peace. Coalition worlds that had long suffered under Caraxian oppression rose up, throwing off their shackles. A new era of galactic politics was dawning, with humanity playing a central role. As Zara stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Coalition, watching as human representatives signed treaties and forged alliances with species from across the cosmos, she felt a deep sense of pride. Humanity had been thrust into a war they never asked for, facing an enemy that had dominated the galaxy for millennia. And they had not just survived. They had thrived, pushing the boundaries of science and technology, showcasing a spirit of innovation and determination that had changed the course of galactic history. As the ceremony concluded, Ambassador Zixlith approached Zora, their ever-shifting face set in an expression she had learned to recognize as deep respect. "Captain Vega," they said softly, "when we sent that warning message to Earth all those years ago, we hoped to find allies. Instead, we found saviors. The galaxy owes humanity a debt it can never fully repay." Zara smiled, shaking her head slightly. "We're not saviors, Ambassador. We're explorers, inventors, dreamers. We looked to the stars and saw not just danger, but opportunity. And now, together, we have the chance to build something truly remarkable." As she spoke, Zora's gaze drifted to the great window overlooking the sparkling expanse of the galaxy. Out there, countless worlds awaited discovery, countless mysteries remained to be unraveled. And humanity, tempered by war, but driven by an unquenchable curiosity, was ready to face whatever challenges the universe had in store. The war was over. The adventure was just beginning.